Half a century, 5 decades, 600 months, 2,607 weeks. The amount of time two people have invested in each other, whose inspirational love story would give anyone butterflies in their stomach. Two people who fought to be together despite being from opposite sides of the track. Two people who sacrificed their relationship with family and friends to build a life together. Two people who have defied the odds and have been there for each other through it all. My parents. It was a classic boy meets girl, girl plays hard to get story, or so I thought. One hot summer day, I was asked to clean out the attic by my parents. It was so hot in there, I felt like a roasting marshmallow, but I still did it. In a corner of that hot, humid attic sat a brown leather suitcase, busting at the seams, dirty, discolored, and damaged. I grabbed it, looked inside. There were hundreds of letters and notes written on torn notebook paper or napkins that were folded stiff from how long they had been in there. I sat there and read every single one. I could sense the fear and calmness, anger and joy, the helplessness and bravery through their words. One note in particular caught my attention, written by my mother. "I'm sorry, I can't meet you tonight. My mother's not letting me leave this house, and she wants to know who you are." I call out to my parents. They walk in and see what's in front of me. They smile, not saying a word, and sit with me and go through the letters themselves. They looked like they had just drank water from the fountain of youth and were reliving all the details of their courtship. They then begin to tell me how it all began, how it really began. My father lived on the wrong side of town. His family was known for starting trouble. My mother was being raised in a strict, single-parent home where dating wasn't allowed. My father saw my mother for the first time at a cafe by a church she attended, and he struck up conversation. My mother, knowing who he was, knowing the relationship would not be accepted, and that she wasn't allowed to date, ignored him. But my father was persistent. He made sure to be there every Sunday morning to pass along a note. He was professing his love to her. After a couple of weeks, she gave in and was falling for him. After months of secret cafe visits and letter exchanges, my mother mustered up the courage to tell her family that she was dating someone, and who that someone was. She was immediately banned from seeing him. My parents still found ways to see each other though, and exchange those letters. Then one day they came up with a plan to be together forever, despite being from opposite sides of the track, despite the rejection they would receive from their family. They knew it was them against the world, and they were ready for what was to come next. One would think two teenagers who had never stepped foot outside of their small hometown would have the wisdom to devise a plan to make their great escape. My dad got a job as a butcher's assistant, my mother as a seamstress. It was a constant battle in both homes because their parents wanted them to contribute what they were making into the households. But my parents already had their own plan for the money they were earning, to run away together. Days became weeks, weeks became months, but they managed to earn enough money. My father rented an apartment and sent his final note to my mother. "I have a surprise. Meet me at the church tonight to begin our lives together." My mom vividly remembers feeling so sick to her stomach that she felt like she was going to vomit. That night, my mother gets caught trying to sneak out of the house, carrying only a small brown leather suitcase and a handbag. Her mother heard her leaving. My mother says she'll never forget what she told her. "If you leave to be with him, never come back. You will no longer be my daughter." With tears rolling down her face, my mother left. She knew what this meant, but to her, it was worth sacrificing her relationship with her family to be with the man she loved. It was what seemed the world against them, and they were ready to take the world on. Now, as man and women, they built a foundation, a home, a family. Shortly after their escape, they were ready to welcome baby number one, a breathtakingly beautiful baby girl. Then 2 years later, they welcomed baby number two, a healthy and handsome baby boy, still with no extended family in sight. They didn't need anyone because they found solace in each other. They were each other's rock. My father says we promised each other forever and always. My parents were more than two crazy teenagers exchanging notes. Two teenagers head over heels in love with each other. They were what we should all want out of a relationship. As a man and a woman, they faced their families. Together, they showed them that love truly does conquer all. These two people, my parents, didn't care about who I was dating, where they lived, where they came from, if they had money or not. And after reading those love letters, now I know why. They always told me, once you find the one, you'll know. And it won't matter what we think, because your heart will always make the decision for you, and it will be the right one. Because after half a century, 5 decades, 600 months, 2,607 weeks, we can learn from and honor my parents' love for each other, the sacrifices they've made, and how together they overcame it all.